Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Bearable Bull here. And I got this aggressively average content for you today. As man oh man, does the market look like it's ready to rip? As Bitcoin is up 11.5%, up at 24,600. ETH up 9% at 1,700. And XRP breaking that 40-cent mark. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, we've been waiting for an altcoin season for oh so long. And I've been stating on my channel over the past couple weeks now that if we were to see one, we'd have to wait for Bitcoin to begin awakening. And that's when altcoins can begin to outperform Bitcoin. That will allow plenty of volume to enter into the market. And needless to say, that's the vibe the market is giving me. We still have to wait and see. It's all a matter of timing. But speaking of timing, I have a powerful clip to play you from Blockchain Backer's live stream the other day. That was one of the most hilarious things I've ever seen. Please take a listen, and then I'll give you a powerful lesson from that.
What are my potential price targets and price predictions and stuff like that? But most people don't. People care about price predictions, and then they care about more than they care about price predictions. They care about when. Is it going to happen right now? I need it to happen right now. I need it to happen next week. And that just one, nobody's going to predict time for you. If you're still looking for a time predictor and they're selling you a load of garbage, the time is not predictable. It's just to this day. And if you think, like we talked about last week, we talked about Michael Berry, right? Genius, right? They made a movie of him for being able to accurately predict the housing market crash. He had it figured out in 2005. In 2006, he had all the data he ever needed. He was shorting it years before it ever ended up happening. And so you can see even in the movie how distressed he is, how stressed out he is, because it's just not happening, and he's predicted it for so long. But even what is perceived as the greatest guy who was able to predict a crash, he was years ahead of it, right? The timing was not predictable. And that's the real hard thing about markets, is predicting time. And that's why we have riddlers who won't give real times, but they're like, see, if you use Gematria and you add 48 plus 3 over 12 and then divide that, you would have recognized that David Schwartz's tweet said Coinbase had a donkey, and that meant the SEC was going to sue Paxos on February 13th. You just didn't pay attention. So you just gotta wait.
Shit.
But this is kind of.
You see, guys, that right there was one of the funniest comments I've ever heard in my life. But it's because it's very accurate to what happens. You see, people, they want us to predict for you how high the price will go. But not only that, not only do you want us to perform the almost impossible task of trying to project to you where we think the price will go as accurately as possible, but then they want us to pull off the miracle of trying to tell you exactly when. I know the game you're trying to play. You want to be one of those retail investors that can make a timed gamble, maybe take some money out that you shouldn't be investing, put it into the market, make a quick profit, then put it back so you can pay whatever bills you were supposed to originally pay with it. That's not smart, and that's not how you play the game. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how you make mistakes. Blockchain Backer made the powerful comparison of Michael Burry and stated how he was the one who accurately predicted 2008. But he was wrong for a very long period of time. He was too early, despite him being a genius that got it right. Timing is what makes people perceive you to be wrong. And I believe that's what's been happening to the XRP army for years now. We've always been correct, but we've always just been early. I'd rather be a month, a year, a decade too early than 1 second too late for XRP though. And that's what I want all of you to get. Time is running out. Nobody has been able to master timing. in this crypto market accurately with 100% precision because it's impossible. But if there's one thing I can guarantee all of you, is that 2022 was a year of extreme refinement for me to learn plenty of skills that allows my timing to be better. So at the very least, we don't go through a year of a straight downtrend and not having had anticipated it. 2023 is going to be a lot better for us. And I feel extremely confident that all of you will agree. Now, let's get into some important news for the day, as Thinking Crypto stated that I spoke with a source who cannot be named, and they gave me insight into the attack on crypto, aka Operation Choke Point. This person worked in government and is now in the crypto industry, and he stated that this attack was green-lighted from the top, coming from the Biden administration, and this is why you see the SEC, CFTC, and other agencies targeting crypto companies in parallel. This is why Gary is so bold and not afraid of consequences. The negative influence on the administration is coming from following parties: Janet Yellen, Gary Gensler, and the Fed. Stablecoins undermine the Fed and banking institutions' control of money to a certain degree. Like I stated in my previous video, stablecoins are a threat to the US dollar. I've personally spoken about this. CBDCs are coming and the digital dollar cannot be usurped by stablecoins. Gary wants to be the face of this attack because he wants to build clout and a resume for a job at the Treasury Department. And Tony says prepare for more pain, as the attack has just started. They'll continue to apply pressure. Sam Bankman-Fried gave them the ammo they needed, even though he was their guy. Wink, wink. Now this is what's so interesting. This is where checks and balances are going to need to play out. Ladies and gentlemen, the other day, we saw Gary Gensler going on mainstream television talking about stablecoins, talking about regulations coming into register, and yet recently Senator Tim Scott stated he wants to talk to SEC Chairman Gary Gensler, because if Gary has the time to do morning talk shows, he could come to the Hill. He could come before Congress and the Senate like he was supposed to come, but he bailed. I think Gary's feeling a little arrogant with the green light he's receiving from the Biden administration to attack crypto right now. But what all of you need to understand is that I think that arrogance is going to get him fired. The crypto industry laughed when Ripple got sued and actually applauded it. But now the crypto industry has woken the fuck up, and they're really ready to go and combat all these territorial regulators who are overreaching their way into demise. Now guys, please listen to this clip of Senator Patrick Toomey telling Gary Gensler in advance that he doesn't believe that stablecoins are securities. And then we're going to get into the real sugar, spice, and everything nice of this video.
And my time is limited, so I'm going to try to do this as efficiently as I can, Mr. Chairman. But I think I know your position, among other things, is that not all cryptocurrencies are inherently securities, right? That's true.
There are a small number that aren't, but I think that, as Chair Clayton said when he was in front of Congress, I think very many of these facts and circumstances are investment contracts.
So here's my concern. So some are and some aren't, is basically what you're saying. And I'm concerned that the SEC has not provided sufficient definition and explained how it would apply the Howey test, which I think is the court standard for determining when something is an investment contract. So, for instance, stablecoins do not have an inherent expectation of profit. They're just linked to the dollar. Now, you might use them in an attempt to make a profit, but that's a second order activity. Is it your view that stable coins themselves can be securities?
I think it's, Senator, they may well be securities. As Thurgood Marshall wrote in the Reeves opinion, in defining the scope of the market that Congress, wished to regulate, Congress painted a broad brush, and it actually included about 35 different things inside the definition of a security in the 33 Act.
I've just got limited time here, so I acknowledge that. Here's my problem, though. I think what you just said was that they may be securities, or that some are securities. To me, a stablecoin doesn't meet the second prong of the Howey test, that there has to be an expectation of profits from the investment. And so if it doesn't meet the Howey test, it looks to me like it's not a security. Now, maybe you've got a good argument for why some are and some aren't. My whole point is, I think we need to have clarity on this. I think you should publicly disclose this. Apparently, there are private conversations where you work with people who are proposing particular structures and you give them advice, or your staff gives them advice. I just think we ought to have that publicly, and we certainly shouldn't be taking enforcement action against somebody without having first provided that clarity.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, that was very interesting, wasn't it? I think Gary Gensler and his actions are going to get him fired, and I'm going to explain to all of you why. First and foremost, there's a lot of FUD around USDC right now, but keep in mind, Bank of New York Mellon is their custodian. BlackRock manages reserves. Visa settles transactions in USDC. It's 100% backed by cash and treasuries. It's audited by Deloitte. And annual audits are filed with the SEC. I think the FUD is overblown, and I 100% agree. USDC will be my profit-taking stablecoin of choice moving into the future. And I'm going to explain to all of you why I think Gary's days are numbered. You see, all of the justification for the harsh enforcement actions happening now against exchanges and stablecoins are because of the FTX collapse. But then Gary Gensler was the one colluding with Sam Bankman-Fried to make negative crypto regulations and to give FTX, the conformed criminal organization, the advantage in the market. I think this Congress is going to have a field day when Gary finally decides to show up. But not only that, Gary Gensler tries to play down how misleading him at the helm of the SEC has been towards American entrepreneurs. And I think LBRY and John Deaton both exposed how terrible the SEC's behavior has been.
LBRY made a comment, and I know John Reed Stark, who, is a former career SEC person, brought up, why would you say such negative things about the SEC? And then he said the SEC's never lost a crypto case. So I want to address that because it's a very important point. So if we could pull up Jeremy's LBRY, Jeremy Kauffman, this was his tweet a while back. And I want to focus on what he said. He says that they begged the SEC for 3 years to talk and explain to LBRY how to be compliant and how to do things, right? And that they refused. But then you see that last paragraph. It says, in private conversations, they, meaning the SEC, threatened to attempt to bankrupt our company through subpoena and discovery demands. Now, that's extraordinary. You have an American entrepreneur, CEO, saying that before the lawsuit, when they're in the investigative process, the SEC lawyers are basically threatening to bankrupt the company through subpoenas and through discovery, because remember, the taxpayer pays for this.
Yep.
Right? LBRY has limited resources. They're filing bankruptcy. They're dissolving. The U.S. government doesn't. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, that's just Jeremy Kauffman. And Jeremy Kauffman's a character and this and that. You can't believe that. So let's see if it's true, right? There was a document filed not by Jeremy Kauffman, but by his lawyer. And this is the document. It was a pleading where they were objecting. But I want to go to the page that I've highlighted for your audience. And right there it is. This is the lawyer, not Jeremy Kauffman, saying, quote, let me read it. It says, Time after time, the SEC returned to continue its pursuit of LBRY, and in an egregious abuse of power that revealed the SEC's malice toward LBRY, SEC staff threatened to continue issuing subpoenas to LBRY for voluminous materials in order to bankrupt the company if LBRY did not capitulate. That's a lawyer, not Jeremy Kauffman, putting in a pleading as an officer of the court that he witnessed these threats of this agency saying, we're going to bankrupt you if you don't capitulate. So when people from the SEC get up there and say, the SEC's never lost a case, this is the kind of abuse that's going on. When Jeremy Kauffman said it in the tweet, I knew it was true because I've been around career prosecutors, and that's what the SEC enforcement lawyers are. They're prosecutors.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, do you understand why this Ripple case is so important? The SEC are literally bullies. They bullied LBRY into extinction. They were threatening to bankrupt their business even while this lawsuit was taking place. All of these things on the guise of enforcing corrupt actors. Nonsense. That's pure bullshit. They let the biggest fraudster in crypto history reign free and collapse his multi-billion-dollar business. That right there is the SEC's fault and their fault alone. Gary was meeting multiple times with them while suing relatively good actors in this market. I don't see Gary Gensler going on CNBC and taking accountability for the collapse of FTX. On the contrary, even though it's his fault, he's using that as a reason for why he's trying to destroy the market. Ripple is one of the only crypto companies that has the resources to be able to combat the SEC, and that's why everyone needs to keep their eyes glued to the screen and also understand that the potential ending of this Ripple SEC case is approaching in the next couple weeks. Recently, JP Morgan stated in a 2020 document, we're investing in ISO 20022 because payments are the backbone of the economy. And at the same time, SWIFT is going live in just a couple weeks with the implementation and the transfer over period for ISO 20022. This is coming in just a few short weeks, and I want you all to listen to SWIFT say it themselves.
You have to support all of them, and you need to support all of them in a rich and robust way. Christine talked about what happens when something goes wrong. It's always easy to talk about the happy path, but you also have to be able to be ready for worst case scenarios. And I think the industry has done a lot for that. In 2023, I think the biggest thing that we'll see, and it's hard to say here 6 weeks away from the ISO general go live and not talk about ISO being a major kind of watershed event in the global industry. You'll have Europe, you'll have all of the cross-border space kind of mass adopting. Obviously, Lynx Phase 2 here in Canada is a significant milestone, and it's the start of a journey, right? So, it's a 3-year coexistence period for the SWIFT community that will continue to learn and grow on. Beyond that, driving adoption of tools, payment pre-validation, SWIFT Go, and making them more widely available to reduce those frictions and to streamline payments. I like what Christine said earlier, not every payment has to be instant. You have to be prepared to support instant, but if you're under attack and all the things that Sean talked about from a fraud perspective, you may want to slow things down a little bit if you're a large corporate and you feel you're under that type of attack. Right, so that payment certainty, I think, regardless of the type of payment, you want to know when, you want to know how much it's going to cost, and there are other characteristics that will be important to you, making sure that you're connected to be able to pay anyone. Right, it's not a technology challenge; it's a regulatory and compliance challenge, and I think that's regardless of the type of payment. And the last thing I'll say is here in 2023, it's definitely already been a journey over the last several years. The industry has really raised the bar on security, on payment tracking, and now richer data as we move forward. So looking forward to great things in the community 2023 and beyond.
Looking forward to great things in 2023 and beyond, he said. Oh, guys, I don't believe in coincidences anymore. This Ripple case coming to a potential conclusion right at the exact same time as this go live for Swift is happening is not a coincidence in my eyes, and it shouldn't be in any of yours. The payment system is seeing a revolution taking place in real time, and I believe we are invested and will be godfathered into the new 1% because we put our money in the infrastructure for the new system. We've waited long enough, and I think we're going to come out on top. Truth is on our side, while corruption is on Gary's. I think time settles all arguments, and I think the judge is going to rule in our favor. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Bearable Bull here. Thanks for tuning in. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. Now I'll be back tomorrow with another video.
Why do I hold XRP? Because Ripple's the chosen one to lead the new global digital payment system, and they use XRP. In 2013, the Federal Reserve began looking for faster payments options. 2 years later, an action plan was born and a federal payments task force was created. It included one company focused on crypto, Ripple. In 2014, the World Bank and Better Than Cash Alliance, which includes the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Clinton Global Initiative, and the governments of 32 countries, put out a report called The Opportunities of Digitizing Payments. 1 year later, the Better Than Cash Alliance featured one crypto company on their website, Ripple. Today, Better Than Cash Alliance and all other UN initiatives are focused on a single agenda, the Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. You can see the SDGs logo on Bill Gates' lapel, world-leading companies, the Better Than Cash Alliance website, and on the UN's official exchange, Exchange. What crypto is Exchange officially utilizing for their carbon credit solution? XRP. The world will move to a new international standard for exchanging electronic messages between financial institutions by 2025 called ISO 20022. Who was the first ISO 20022 member focused on distributed ledger technology? Ripple. Who's partnered with over 300 financial institutions, including Bank of America, American Express, PNC, Santander, SBI, HSBC, Standard Chartered Bank, Bank of England, India, Singapore, Scotland, Australia, and Indonesia, the largest banks in Japan, Canada, Egypt, the Middle East, United Arab Emirates, Thailand, Morocco, Bhutan, South Korea, Brazil, and Latin America? Ripple. Who is a former employee overseeing the Federal Reserve? Ripple. A former employee overseeing the world's largest asset manager, BlackRock's digital asset division? Ripple. Leading Australia's CBDC effort? Ripple. Who hired a former Treasury of the United States? Ripple. 2 former Federal Reserve attorneys to their board? Ripple. 2 former Clinton and Obama advisors, former Minister of Defense and Economics of Germany, former business director at Swift, former Swift board member, former CFO of PayPal, former head of the DTCC, former chief business officer at Uber, former VP of Amazon, and former SEC chair on their legal team? Ripple. Who's a member of the Digital Pound Foundation, Digital Dollar Project, Digital Euro Association, Mojaloop, IMF's high-level advisory board on fintech, Hyperledger Blockchain Consortium, Open Payments Coalition, Faster Payments Council, Global Payments Steering Group, Cross-Border Working Group, International Association for Trusted Blockchain Applications, Crypto Climate Accord, University Blockchain Initiative, World Wide Web Consortium, and a featured partner of the World Economic Forum with 3 members of their team directly listed on the WF website? Ripple. Now, does Ripple and XRP sound like they're going to disappear, or do they sound like they're part of a much bigger plan? You decide.